Hello, everyone, and I'd like to extend a very, very warm welcome to Tron. Tron is Director of Enterprise Sales at Suzy, and I've had the great pleasure of knowing her through my connections in the market research industry. She is an inspiring leader. She's passionate about many, many different things. She has even her own podcast and does speaking engagements of her own. And today we're going to have a conversation about tapping into giving, and it's just a pleasure to welcome you.
Thank you so much, Tanya. It is so wonderful to be here. And honestly, I'm honored. I am new to the field of research. I've only been in research for about 3 years now. So to have someone that's so established in the field like you reach out to me and ask me to participate in something like this was absolutely huge. So I really appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, wonderful. And it's my pleasure. So to get started, Tron, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your own journey. When you think about some of the causes you've been passionate about, maybe some things from your childhood, I'd love to learn more about you.
Yeah, for sure. I had so much fun actually reminiscing and thinking about what has driven me to be passionate about giving and actually doing service work. And it is my childhood. So growing up on the south side of Chicago, which is where I'm from, and, we were middle class. We were in there. It wasn't really until later in life that I'd say we became like upper middle class when my mom started to move up in the corporate America. But one of my mom's closest friends, her daughter had cerebral palsy. And so every year, my mom would make us do, I don't want to say suggest that we join her on the March of Dimes. It was called the Walkathon. And I feel like it was anywhere from like 10 to 20 miles. My whole family would gather up with my mom's friend's family, and then we would go to Lakeshore Drive and we would walk the route. It started to get more fun though, as we started to introduce more family members. My uncle would come with my cousins, my aunt would come with her son. And now this is like a family event. And the goal was to make it the whole way and not get put on the poop out bus. The poop out bus meant you couldn't finish the walk, Tanya, and so they had to pick you up halfway. So the cousins started to have this competitive, like, oh, don't get on the poop out bus because we're going to talk about you all year if you get on the poop out bus. And so I feel like that's really what inspired me actually to want to start giving back. My mom and my sister did, a backpack drive, and we would all be in the basement with like all of these different school supplies that my mom had picked up from Staples and Office Max for a penny and a quarter. I single-handedly feel like she was Staples' worst nightmare back in this day. And we would all stuff these bags and then go and drop them off at school. So even though we didn't have much, it was instilled in us that what we do have, we're going to give back to. And so that's what's kind of driven me in my journey.
That's amazing. And that's amazing modeling that your mom did of how you can do something, right? Whether it's participating in a walk, which is for a greater cause, quite an overwhelming cause in many respects, right? Because there's going to be this journey towards finding cures and finding ways to help people suffering, but also just the action of packing a backpack and using your own resources to find and leverage what you have. I really, really like that. And I talk a lot about what inspired me, which is like Mother Teresa, who said, if you can't feed 100 people, feed just one. Yep. And I remember when I saw, so much poverty, so many hungry children, so many things going on, I was like, okay, but I can do one thing. I can feed one child. And I really like that focus. So when you think about giving, you think about the example your mother set. Now as an adult, how do you approach philanthropy? How do you personally approach giving? Are there any causes that you're passionate about now? And what do you do?
Sure. The exact same way, honestly. I've mirrored my mom in so many ways. So one of the things that has been a common theme inside of my family has been liver disorder. And so I actually, as an adult, took up the passion and I started to volunteer with the American Liver Foundation. The very first volunteer event that I did, guess what? Was the liver walk. So I gathered first year, 11 of my colleagues from Career Builder, that shout out to Career Builder. And on a Saturday morning, these 24 and 25-year-olds all go down to Grant Park because I've asked them to, and we help along the way, and we're greeters and registrants. And my friend Eric is actually in the liver suit as liver man, and he's walking around and shaking hands and kissing babies, right? And I strongly believe that the best way to get out of yourself is service work. So that was the first year I did it. The second year I did the same at the Liver Walk. And then the third year, the American Liver Foundation actually asked me to be on the board. Wait, what?
Wow.
Me? Right. And so I helped them with this huge event, which was called Flavors of Chicago, where we had the top 20 chefs of Chicago come and prepare a meal. It was like $300 a ticket. I was responsible for getting, silent auctions prizes donated and for getting chefs to come, like going to board meetings downtown. I'm like, what am I doing? This is how you're showing up in the world right now. So just write it. Right. So ever since then, I have always been in contact with the Liver Foundation, trying to help in as many ways as I can. But again, still tapping into the roots of my mother, where it's like, this is what you can do. So let's do what we can.
That's amazing. And that's so inspiring. And I love how you just light up when you talk about it, because obviously it's fun. And that's the thing. I mean, studies have shown that people who volunteer, people who engage in service work, they have higher life satisfaction. They have a higher degree of happiness. Yeah. And that joy really does come through. And that notion of community too, right? Joining with people for a banquet or for a walk. I think you build off each other's energy as well. I don't think philanthropy or giving has to be a big, heavy thing. It's a source of joy. Often we forget that, I think, when people, talk about, well, what do you, when that overwhelm that they feel by the number of causes and charities that are out there. The thing I wanted to talk to you about is, your mother has been such an influence in your life, and I love how she modeled this notion of service and giving. If right now you had to advise a young person about how to approach giving, how, somebody may be just about to graduate from college, what would you say? What's advice you wish you had had when you were kind of at that starting point of your, early career, just out of school?
Yeah, I think it all comes from it can come from inside your person. So for me, myself, I know what has crippled my family, and those are the ways that I want to show up and activate. For other people, though, it can be as simple as getting involved at the university. It could be as simple as getting involved at your job. Susie has something called the Percent Pledge, where we can choose the charity that we want, and we could give some that way, and they'll match our donation. So that's an easy way to dip your toe into the pool of giving back and of philanthropy, is by finding these little conduits where you may not want to know where to start, and that could be your kickoff or your jumping off point.
That's great. So first of all, finding a connection to a cause, something that could be personal to you, and or finding a conduit, making it easy to approach giving. I really, really like that. I think that's great advice. Yeah. And then when you think about the impact, you've been involved on the board of such a massive organization, a huge health-based organization. How do you think about impact when you're going to give your precious time, your energy, your dollars? Yeah. You evaluate that?
I evaluate it from, again, what's happening in here. I still believe, again, the best way to get outside of yourself is to do something for somebody else. And so I know I'm being impactful at the Liver Foundation walk because I can see the impact that day. I can see the people that I'm high-fiving as they're making it through the walk. I can see the cancer survivors, right, that are coming through and finishing. And that is what is driving me and inspiring me. These folks are what I guess we would call sick or healing, or you know what I mean? If they have the strength, the energy, the grit, the determination to get up and walk 20 miles, why don't I? Why don't I, right? So that is honestly how I would say like the impact is for me. It's just, I just feel a different way about the things that I'm doing. And it can also just clear my mind and get me out of whatever it is that I'm stuck in, because I can go through phases where I'm overanalyzing things, or I feel like, hey, I'm stuck in a rut. I don't know how to get out of this. you know what you need to do? Go help somebody else. It'll help yourself.
That's amazing. And that is definitely amazing advice, life advice for sure. Um, I think, you know, when I think about running a nonprofit, I sort of actually don't even like that term nonprofit, because it almost negates the value, the joy, the impact that these entities do sort of bestow upon the world.
Yes.
And, you know, we both have corporate jobs. We work, obviously, we have to make a living. But it's funny when I think about my own nonprofit, Baaldan, or I think about these larger institutes or whatever, it almost feels like they're sometimes diminished for the impact and work versus maybe what's hot in the tech industry or what's hot out there in terms of, you know, that more kind of corporate, those corporate kind of entities. What's something that, you know, maybe we could do as a community of women, of researchers, to kind of lift the profile of nonprofits in general and the way that they can really be transformative, not just personally, but also for the world?
Yeah, I 100% agree with you with the word nonprofit, because there is a profit there, even if it's not, you know, a dollar profit, as we call it. There is a gain and there is a payout. And I feel like as women, what we can do are exactly what we're doing right now. Things like this, where we're having these conversations, we're elevating them, we're pushing them forward. I think that now is the time where women are getting more seats at the table. If you're at the table, this is also something that we can be talking about, is how as women we can give back, how we can show up, right? And how we can get a profit from our volunteering or from our philanthropy.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And so one final question for you, Tron. It's really been a pleasure talking to you. What's inspiring you right now? What is lighting you up? What's giving you joy?
Oh my goodness, so many things. Again, these types of conversations and having these opportunities to speak with people like you, to share stories from my past, to be seen and to be felt and to be heard is driving me right now. I am super passionate, I would say right now, about diversity in research and bringing more people to that field, and how we do that, and how everyone across the field of research should be tapping into that and should be promoting diversity in this field. So that is one of the things that is driving me, not just at Susie, driving my podcast, driving me on the board of the Insights Association. Every day, it's what I'm about right now. So
that's wonderful. Well, I would just say to everybody out there, if you're interested in learning more about Tron, find her on LinkedIn, find her podcast, you know, join her, just listen to some of her talks on diversity. It's amazing. Check out what she's up to. And from my side, I'd just like to sincerely thank you for your time today, for this wonderful conversation. It's been so uplifting. Thank you for helping us tap more into giving. I think we're both very passionate about that, and we really, really appreciate your time. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Tanya. It's been so great.